The island of Papua New Guinea consists of the independent state of Papua New Guinea and West Papua, governed by Indonesia. It lies north of Australia in the Bismarck Sea. The island is split in half, but the nations share incredible cultural diversity as well as natural diversity that are unique in the world. The 4 conservation projects that will be visited are situated in East Sepik, Sundown, Madang and Morobe provinces. Travelling on the coastline on boats as well as inlands on roads that are in bad repair creates some challenges. Flying on aeroplanes that are chartered from MAF or Missionary Aviation Fellowship as well as scheduled flights gets the team closer to the villages they will be filming in. The travel takes us on a boat up the mighty Sepik River. We will fly into a community at the foot of the Torricelli mountain range and a banana boat carries us along the Madang coastline. The places that will be visited are Karkum in Madang province, Ambunti on the Sepik River in East Sepik province, Ronji in Morobe province and Lumi at the foot of the Torricelli mountain range in Sundown province. The 4 conservation projects are all centered on enabling and encouraging the indigenous inhabitants in the respective villages to participate in the conservation of some of Papua New Guinea's globally significant endangered wildlife species. These species were hunted and killed for use in customary costumes, sold to foreign buyers as exotic products, and consumed by the villagers themselves as a source of protein in an environment where sourcing of protein has traditionally been a challenge.
That's the framework in which we operate, and the framework of the small grants program falls under the outputs in the overall strategy that look at sustainability and livelihoods of communities, environmental protection, climate action.
The conservation arm of SIPA does not get the full support, financial support from the national government. So we work closely with international donor partners.
Landowners will have to make their choice between having that area set aside for forest activity or for conservation, or having that area set aside for agriculture use or for conservation activity.
It's up to those ministers to make that difference. And that's probably our most frustrating thing that we see around the world with politicians, is they have so much power and they can make so much difference and they can create so much goodness in the world if they had the political will.
They've actually seen the actual infrastructure development. They've seen the actual impact that the project has on the community.
All the projects evolve around reducing pressures on the environment by giving the inhabitants alternative sources of income through development of cash crops or an alternative protein source to sustain the population. There is also the issue of lack of access to markets that needs to be addressed. The country is very rugged and not easy to get from one place to another over mountains, wetlands, seas and rivers. Lack of investment in transport infrastructure inhibits development of the country.
I grew up in Utu in the 70s. That was when the logging logging operations was taking place, and I saw the devastation, the depletion and the degradation of the forest resources in the Gogol Naru area, which planted the seed of agitation on resource exploitation.
There are numerous challenges that face the people in the communities around Papua New Guinea. Sometimes it is the lack of road connection, distance from market, the cost of transportation, and more. What is similar in all the communities are hardworking people who want a little help to better the chance of helping themselves. Tourism is underdeveloped in Papua New Guinea, but has potential. The government has driven some initiatives that show promise, but more needs to be done in terms of infrastructure and ease of travel within this extremely rugged and stunningly beautiful country. These projects can also be a driving force for the type of tourism that has been coined as ecotourism. The villages are able and willing to invest in tourism, but still the tourists are thin on the ground. mainly because of how difficult Papua New Guinea is to navigate. The traditional challenges the communities are facing are being further exacerbated by the ever-present and increasing effects of global warming that is affecting the climate in an unpredictable way. Rising sea levels and increased frequency in natural disasters has grave impact on marine life, wildlife, and crops in the country. Increase in population has also created challenges for the communities, especially coastal areas, when the need for housing encroaches ever nearer to the shoreline. It has unforeseen and often detrimental consequences for the wildlife the communities are trying to protect and for the communities themselves. These challenges and others are all linked with the success of the conservation projects that are built on the participation of the local population.
Areas with high biodiversity, we know where they are. The challenge for us is moving in, working with the landowners to try and secure them, getting, their consent. Also finding out, investigating very, very quickly the opportunities for them to make money. I think that to me is a most critical thing to do. Because once we've done that, I think the rest is now organizing the landowners, making sure that they really get the benefit, the real benefit, so that they're all happy. No one is missing out. And when they move together and they all appreciate that this money they're getting can be increased in the future, if they continue to preserve the land, the water, the bush and all that, I think we've got it there.
The first village we visit is Karkum, that is located on the north coast of Papua New Guinea in Madang province. Protection of the critically endangered leatherback turtle in Karkum and other neighboring villages was enabled through funding from the UN Development Program Small Grants Program, received by Masin Kagin Tapani Association, a community-based organization established to foster the advocacy on protection of the Western Pacific leatherback turtles that visit the shores of Papua New Guinea annually during the breeding season. The leatherback turtles are critically endangered, according to the globally recognized IUCN, or International Union of Conservation and Nature Red List. That is a global reference for species populations. The funding was stopped by the donor due to technical reasons.
There are so many challenges. It boils down to funding constraint. You can't operate such a big project with no funding, and no major funding, not just in 100,000. You need 1 million kina funding to run this type of project. Most of the NGOs, big NGOs, are operating on 1 million kina budget, especially to cover the administrative cost. I'm spending time in the village to be with the people. Even though we don't have the funding, I think by being physically present on the ground and giving my time to the villagers, I think I can somehow convince them to continue to sustain the project.
Despite the lack of funding, the villagers in Karkum and the neighboring villages of Sarang and Dibor have decided to carry on with the project to protect the leatherback turtle. There are still issues being debated, but after a period of disharmony, a consensus is being reached amongst the community. Adolf is the main ranger and has taken the lead to try further develop opportunities the leatherback conservation project can create for the community.
Mikam lo start lo work lo project betrosel time Wenceslaus Magun lo Mas Kagin Tapani Association short o kolim makata welcome awareness lo endangered species lo 2006 kamu awareness running all workshops trainings na time all working boundary survey when is pine man blow surveying ground boundary blow conservation area so I'm asking around me talk me can help you low walk me using GPS machine low collecting all data all coordinates, blow locations where all points of interest. Me collect him na ben me write him ken lo ang book nam salam golo GIS specialist lo most be we all can walk a map because me know at machine lo ke map me sim ta sol GPS lo collect raw data.
While conducting your survey, did you come across sacred sites?
Lo so Lumi yes me come some sacred sites some all pla all matmat all masala place tambu all Papua and all tuna sa tambu mi pla lo all igat all sacred sites east up.
The richness of culture and the heritage of the villages are very important factors. The sacred sites can function as buffer zones against deforestation and land degradation, protecting water, forests, and biodiversity. Local myths also help to integrate conservation into the cultural practices.
Mere speed go down nung nambis, em kalaban tab long pa diwai, silo war bring kam na putin. Em kalaban tab na ulim an long diwai me plo kolim bupong. Long sok sin minus sa long nem plong. De la diwai gat smell ben tem trause. Em olim nak. Em kalab nem olin an long diwai bruk not plegon sa long silo. Em te stop. Stop go tupla pikin sa kimikli brata blongol, susah blongol. Now saya go long nambis na singot ben nambis go kam na singot mama blongol. Go mama blong saya kam tap ging silo bigi boya pikin Maria. Em saya go ron back. Ot sem tas oli go na mama blongol ya skin blong trasel kau na skin kongen. De la mag blong skin blong trasel ya. Em ka blong baksat blongen. Go them talking more. One part time goes. Bring picking a goal. Come on, some talking more. I'm getting so please talking more. No can come to what me more. And talk skin domia. People are looking. Russell come up. I'm just small go. Talk one part time, but looking when you come back. You come back in. And I'm putting Russell. Kyo come up there looking them. Okay, Mama Blongolia.
The richness of the culture and the heritage of the villages are very important factors. The sacred sites can function as a buffer zone against deforestation and land degradation, protecting water, forests, and biodiversity. This leads to the question of tourism. Does Adolf think there is room for that?
2006 he came in 2008 me blog guest house from me. Okay, guest house he got separate management blow welcome continue he come plenty money he come inside like house me blow him na outside come up in employment opportunity blow all man merelo place guest house management blouse he employ him all workman work merelo work law house all workers come up locally me like creating employment opportunities blow man merelo place na same time too na blow work or some all agriculture work or some poultry farming na all trade store na selain
benefit blow ay mo sam blow one blow me plus stop ay mo sam good play blame mo sam time this la project am come me looking mo sam time me pla go me pla walk this la little walk and me pla get me pla coins la han me pla mamas la this la project am come and me pla mamas me pla get up me pla got coins me pla mamas na me pla stop me pla walk boom one time me looking mo sam 2006 me start la place time this la conservation am come this la project am come and mo sam time all okay guest house down below all piney mary lo cook and mo sam me start lo side block catering me go cook one time all me saving all guest all come lo narap la country all come me work lo saving all one time.
The guest house has now been dismantled and the women have resorted to other means of earning an income. The traditional cash crops are cocoa, betel nut and coconut. The access to market is relatively good, but the harvesting of coconut and cocoa has been a bit sporadic and prices low compared to the betel nut trade in the highlands region. Karkum is not isolated as such when all the bridges on the roads from Medang are up and the state of the road is acceptable. The driving time is about 2 hours.
Planti yang plamangi mi pla pushi mo longo encourage mo longo walk one time all papa mama looking mo lik business papa mama lucy lo hand blongol develop him all this la if all got all boy plantation na this la look lo this la na help him this pla put him more boy gone side or more cacao gone side more on him piggery too mi pla sample got pig long in pig banis long in all pigini blom blom mi pla encourage him all look out him this pla make him good pla banis. But you know, if we can get a good piggery build lo place, sarang place by got plenty pig. By got plenty young plamangi, usai by interest long come up him all piggery long make him. We just need some assistance. We just need some money somewhere long. Just help him all display young plamangi. Look out him pig long all yet. Me plak at pig me plak and game all. But lick house, just build him a lick house. Make him good pla piggery. Good place storage, long pig waste na display. Get a good setup somewhere. Na all can sit down him all. Na all by look out him all yet. I'm all young plaman. I believe all can look out him all yet. Sarang place a good place. Me no promoting sarang place. That's all me talk. Plenty young plamangi long here. He got potential of making big plus something. Na big plan.
The rising in sea level is encroaching on the beaches and a risk to the turtle nesting areas.
Now it, one plus something emoglo affecting na baram all population blow, Leatherback blow, Nambis blow me. Apart from me blow money go digim kya bol chim kai na all slagai na rising sea level or big blow waves. Come. Also come big level waves come time big level come na whether I'm no good too much big level waves come na digim wasan goran na rausim o kata kya blo Torricelli sa gona bagara destroy mo natural na adlo mi plawol man bo o kumanda something.
Now mi pla mas look sabe sem mi pla istablom gold. Gold and sabe lo mipla lo side from this lo work on Torricelli. Also now you mi community long Karkum mipla mas kirap now. Mipla mas one of all differences mipla stop mipla mas senisim na mipla ba kirapim this lo work again. Mipla ba serious long working this lo work come up again.
Mila totally lost. Our problems come inside na. Bagarapim something. Planted something me bless making me plan no so working something we are saying. We go to boom one time, pass a good blood thinking, now make him something. 1 blood, 2 blood, 3 blood man soul will work him something go on. Then community come inside, make him na project say go na go bagarap.
The challenges are varied and all depends on the community coming together to further their prospects. People's livelihoods are interlinked to ecosystems management and biodiversity conservation. When people look after their environment, benefits they receive are clean air, water, food and other material for their health and well-being.
In PNG we are fortunate. The resources are owned by the people. And it's their food bank, it's their pharmacy, it's their clothes factory, you name it. So they get the environment services for free from the environment. So it's not just about conserving and sustaining, restoring and protecting the leatherback turtles. It's about building that environment consciousness in the communities to appreciate the value of the environment that they live in and the benefits they get out of the environment.
The project has continued, and Adolf and a small group of people have continued the work. The population of Western Pacific leatherback turtles is still a concern, as the species are still on the IUCN Red List of Endangered Species. The leatherback turtles continue coming during the breeding season annually. Therefore, the work of the coastal villages in Madang are still important for the protection of the leatherback turtles.
Na ilukim, long constant generation long pla, like some miet. Mi gatong na Miriam stop, Papa am stop, miet stop, mi gatot pigini. Mi pla 4 generation stop one patem. Na ilukim, tuna Miriam stop yet na this la same Miriam multiply na come up 110 pla one finish. This la em put him strain, em put him money make begin long resource now.
Something I must come up Ken. Lo bung tamblo stay talk me talk I must come up Ken. Now 1 plus something too awesome. You me all got to have a talk block good. Now you talk long boost ground se bagarap. Go and put him all animals. Lo boost na lo nambis too. Lo look out him. Em talk you must look out him.
Na mi ama mas lo disla one project must carry on because mi ama mas same name block community block mi amba pairap lo world ya. Na mi ama mas true lo disla project must carry on ago. Lo good plan lo community lo mi plan na good plan lo you may all get people inside lo disla community.
1% in Milukim unity inside all churches, unity namel all leaders, unity namel all youths, Milukim big through inside all community.
We want to lead a man inside the community. Also, na mi ama mas long disla program come inside. Na mi stand strong long support disla.
Despite a troubled past, the community is healing the schisms and showing will to work together for the benefit of the community as well as for the benefit of the endangered leatherback turtle and the whole of the ecosystem surrounding the village. Karkum and the neighboring villages face the same challenges as other village communities around Papua New Guinea. The equilibrium between people's livelihood, poverty alleviation, and environmental sustainability need to be struck. At the moment, Karkum has a way to go before that happens. However, there has to be active participation of families and communities together with the support of government, non-government organizations and research teams.
So, unlike other grant programs that are administered by international NGOs and the UN, this is considered a high-risk program, and it's deliberately a high-risk program. So it's for communities who don't usually have the capacity, the financial tools, don't have access to putting together a very good grant and having a very good financial system. The whole point and the whole beauty of the program, I suppose, is that it comes from the villages themselves and the communities themselves. And we assist them in giving them that grant in order to develop a project that will benefit them. So this is not determined and based on the usual criteria that the UN has, which is financial sustainability, bookkeeping, credit. It's more established on the willingness of the community and, of course, the issue they're trying to address. And so that's why I think it's often can be a very successful program, because it's not imposed on anybody at that level. It's very much determined from the bottom up. And the people who give out the money for this fund have agreed that a high-risk program is good and it works well.
The Sepik River is the longest river in Papua New Guinea. It flows through the Sundown province, except for a short distance where it flows through the Indonesian province of West Papua. Ambunti is the small government station we come to next. It has a population of about 2,100 people who live off the abundance of the river and have done so for centuries. They rely on the river for transportation of goods and people, and despite how isolated the community is, the inhabitants are forward-thinking. The local CBO, Sepik Wetlands Management Initiative, or SWMI, has had strong presence and engagement for a while, with more than 50 communities along the upper Sepik River providing support and training. The 2 crocodile species in the Sepik River are protected by national legislation that regulates its trade. SWMI report to the CITES Convention, or Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, and that report is used to regulate the trade in the crocodiles. Along the river, people have lived with the Sepik crocodile for centuries. This cohabitation has influenced the people, and the image of the crocodile is inseparable from their culture. There are stories and fables that connect the local people to the image of the crocodile. Over the last few years, in cooperation with Mainland Holdings in Leh, the villagers have harvested crocodile eggs. This has generated income for the village, the landowners, and obviously the company itself. The stakeholders go and gather the eggs from around the river. This is not a job without its dangers, as the crocodiles guard the nests that sit on the vegetation that is partly submerged on the banks of the river. The saltwater crocodile breeding season is from October to November. They lay their eggs in December. By March and April, their eggs start to hatch. The freshwater crocodiles, on the other hand, have the breeding season in September. By November, it lays its eggs, and by December, their eggs start to hatch. When the eggs have been gathered, they are marked and put into boxes in a specific way. The eggs are kept in the same position as they were when gathered from the nests. If this isn't done, the embryo is at risk of dying. This is a delicate operation in terms of the preservation of the eggs, and it is at this stage the value of the takings comes clear. When the eggs are all securely in the boxes, they are transported to Mainland Holdings Crocodile Farm in Leh. In Papua New Guinea, most of the land is owned by customary landowners. That is, the villages or communities own the land they have lived on for millennia. The landowners need to be rewarded as well to keep the equilibrium in the local community.
Number of eggs, that depends on the number of animals we have back at the farm. Every year we decrease or we increase the number of eggs that you want. That depends largely on the number of animals we have back at the farm.
It can be said that the conservation project in Ambunti on the mighty Sepik River is a successful project. SWMI has been one of the Small Grants Programs or SGP's most successful projects, winning a UNDP Equator Award in 2006. The local population is reaping benefits from it. Mainland Holdings profits from the project, and the number of crocodiles is increasing and has reached acceptable levels.
Okay, the main benefits is we get, apart from the eggs we get from the eggs, we bring them back to our farm, hatch them out, and from there we get the skins. We grow them up, get the skins. Apart from the skins, those back strap, the back of the skin, they make belt and the teeth also, and the meat. Yeah. Currently we have 3 markets, must be 4 markets now. Our main markets is Ronji, that's a Japanese market, and the other one is HCP, France. We normally sell our skins. And the other one is American tanning. So we got 3 major markets. That's for the skins only.
The egg hours program, it has more tangible benefit to the communities and the livelihood of people along the Sepik River. One of the major benefits that I observed was the student, the project provide fundings with the community generate income through selling of crocodile eggs. They got the money and then they pay for school fee. As well, changing their livelihood, how they live, provide money for clothing, transportation, paying of outboard motors, and even the roofing irons where they build their houses and they lived in. That's the basic benefit that the project has towards the communities along the Sepik River.
This project really helped that people in the community by during hours they get money, they can build a school. In some project sites that we have, they use this crocodile money that they get from the egg to build school, hospital. That's some projects that the government did not deliver to the community. From that money from the egg, and even live crocodile and skin, they do these small projects in the communities. There's some results coming out. From that, what we have done, some of the kids went for big higher level of educations. Like one is now a secretary for office to our member, MP. And there's some other kids, when they go, some of them are teaching now, like teachers, some of them doctors. So that's the outcome of that project.
Okay, time juga important belangan, people like preserve him fukpuk. People working one pla CBO at same time, people set him one pla crocodile festival. Every year we have this trading crocodile festival, dancing and display fukpuks and eggs and skins and oversize and all that. So people still continue this year, but now we have 12 years celebrating on fukpuk festivals in Ambunti area.
I think the best way to advise or to talk to the community is to, add value to those particular resources that we have. Once they see the value that those resources add, then they'll treasure those resources. Like crocodile, it has more value to the communities. So when Swami comes in, they assess on that. Conducting awareness. And then once awareness, when people protect those species, once they conserve, they sustain it, then they see those species bring tangible benefits, like now Swami mainland holding, coming in, collecting eggs. Yes, we do collect data. Like once they collect the eggs, and then they take the crocodile eggs to the main facilities in Leh. They do provide us the data that they collect, even the hatchlings that they get from those eggs. Which ones are infertile, which ones are fertile, and which ones are dead. And as well, we do collect data through aerial survey, which is funded by the mainland holding. Since SEPA has not enough sufficient fund to conduct the aerial survey, which is cost 300,000 for only one survey. Apart from other countries, they are listed under CITES Appendix 1. But for Papua New Guinea, it's listed on CITES Appendix 2, since we have our management plan, which is Crocodile Trade Protection Act, which it governs that particular species on trade. That is why you'll see when any traders coming into the province to conduct the harvest or buying of crocodile skins, we have that particular management plan as a standard measurement that people have to comply with, especially those traders.
There is consensus in the community that the project is of great benefit. There are issues still to be dealt with, but the drive of the community will have a better chance of tackling those with a steady income. The possibility of tourism on a larger scale than has been seen before is being developed with guest houses and other services needed. From Ambunti, we travel to Ronji, a village that is situated on the coastline on the border of Medang and Morobe. It is a 6 to 8 hour boat ride from Medang in best conditions. The boats used to transport people and goods are small banana boats that cannot travel in all weather conditions. There is no road access at all to the village. The cost of a return trip is quite steep, and that inhibits the locals bringing their crops to the market. The village relies on this mode of transport, and when leaving and returning to the village, there is no wharf to board or load the cargo onto the boats from. The Tree Kangaroo Conservation Program, or TKCP, began in 1996 as a conservation research study to determine the status of the endangered Machis tree kangaroo. YUS Conservation Area covers over 158,000 hectares of land, ranging from coastal reefs to 4,000-meter high peaks, largely covered by unbroken tracts of rainforest. The Tree Kangaroo Conservation Program was a recipient of SGP funding to support marine assessment of the marine portion of the YUS Conservation Area. TKCP is also a UNDP Equator Award recipient in 2016.
So the Tree Kangaroo Conservation Program has been in existence since 1996. And we started it by looking at the conservation of tree kangaroos up in the cloud forests, up in the YUS conservation area. And as we worked over 10 years, we realized that the use area includes both the high mountains and the cloud forest, but all the way down to the ocean and the coral reefs. So we included both the coral reefs and the shore areas, the Nambas areas, as well as the high mountains. And so this is a project that is community-based conservation, and the goal is to create safe areas for wildlife, but also support the local communities. Ronji's, as you know, a really special place, and what's wonderful is it's connected to the forest, and some of the landowners there own forest land, but then they're also, ocean people and rely on the marine resources. And so as a result of the conservation area and setting aside some of the coral reefs as well as some of the forests, the communities there have been seeing more wildlife coming back. Then we've also been doing education programs, junior ranger programs, and then also health programs. So we have a One Health project, which is incorporating human, wildlife, and environmental health.
The villagers have signed up with a TKCP to conserve and protect the coastline and the marine resources in the conservation zone. People refrain from fishing and harvesting of their natural resources in the protected areas. What are the benefits of the project for the environment?
Mepla ilukimolsem. Bus mepla tambuim. Igat good plab, blol pisini stap. Igat all good plab, way wara iron, igat nice pla, clean pla wara, nadesla wara, LP mepla. Bus igat all good pla diwai stap close to. All pisini come close to. Mepla lukimolsem. All pisin way like pinis. I walk lo broken. Something me play looking mo me play like sort. Taso long walk blo tambim na conserving bus. I walk lo broken na me play looking mo by me play igat. Long helping more future generation blo me play.
You're mainly talking about the forest. How about the sea and the shoreline? Have there been positive changes there?
Time me play tambim solwara. All nupla pisin I walk lo come inside. I come up, me play lookim where before nogat longen. Time me play tambuim nambis. Me play lookim osem pisini kam. Same time to me play lookim before Torricelli na sabe kamantab. Me play lookim osem Torricelli kam. Mani lookim lai. All pikinini lookim mani olim Torricelli na lusim na igo bekken. So me play lookim benefits blong. Me play tambuim bus na solwara.
The villagers are seeing changes for the better in their immediate environment. The wildlife is showing positive signs of rejuvenation, and there seems to be a direct link to the conservation project. But what about the effect the project has on their livelihood?
Okay. Plant yar kamantap inside long 2003, 4, 5. Bemi lukim sindan blo live blo timbuna. Kam lo mark long 2005. 2006 conservation come inside. Come inside now, me looking live blow me senis liklik. Osem conservation helping me now NGO office staff. Osem now me like him osem conservation. Mas tok strong na government.
As soon as I came into YUS, Tep Village actually, in 1996 and realized that the community are the landowners, they are the stewards of their land, and they are the decision makers.
What about the well-being and development of the village? What sort of change were you expecting the project to make?
Okay, long look back lo plus now kind of some plus now when me place that one kind before he comes. So me play got ting long. Me play must find him road well long. Kisim help him na send him sala send down people papa send down len. Na mipla mas come up him nupla send down also mipla mas got good pla building also mas got house kapa na all this la kind look mas come la send him also mipla go lo next level kind of some. Also now also big pla work also conservation program me come inside la mipla na mipla game all ground na repi go longan mipla thing also olina pla send him mipla lo desla kind look mas come up la mipla lo place na mipla Sindaw na desla long LP mipla. When mipla stop lo remote area na ino kat good pla road di go kam na mipla ting desla pa inapla LP mipla. So still mipla stop lo one kind problem yet.
The land around the village is fertile, and the villages along the coast grow vegetables mainly for own consumption, coconuts, cocoa, and betelnut. They are trialing out vanilla, a high-value and low-volume cash crop. Vanilla seems to grow well, and it is relatively easy to transport, overcoming infrastructure challenges faced by most rural communities in Papua New Guinea. There is ample land, but the main issue is access to market. The transport of goods is very expensive, and a boatload of cash crops does not leave much profit when the freight and passenger costs have been paid.
Suppose now may plak sim two plak chemical bag boy na may plak karam galom medaing. May play yet may play no kat boat. So may play ba find mal passenger boat na suppose boat and ba saji may play lodes la chemical bag. 30 kina lo one pla bag. So 2 pla and ba 60 kina. So may play ba karam des la boy na igolong town. May play ba salim 100 kina lodes la one pla bag boy. So 2 pla bang plaksim 200 kina. Na 30 kina lo 1 pla bag. So 60 kina lo 2 pla bag. Okay, may pla ba left over one time 140. So 140 may pla left over. Okay, 100 kina long 1 pla. Or some passenger fare pla may pla. Okay, 140 may pla left. So may pla must find him nar pla. O some 60 kina, lo make him 200 kina na pampla baim passenger fare lo kambet yan. Na suppose may play no gadesla may play must stop lo town. Lo find him all family we only work lo elbo le elfi may play. Lo give may play money na pla may play ba meet him cost blong boat lo kambet lo place.
The village of Ronji stretches along the coast, and wherever you look, crops are growing. New houses are being built to house the younger generation of the growing population. Fresh water comes out of a natural spring, rivers run into the sea, and therefore there is no water shortage as long as the nature allows. However, there is no water distribution or water tanks in the village, and the people have to carry water for cooking, general hygiene, and consumption for a long way. This, together with very limited access to electricity, hampers the development of the village. The locals work on the conservation project, and the data being gathered indicates that the marine resources on the sea and on the beach is increasing.
So may pla conserve rip, may pla looking mosem desla before papa li looking la now come up ken now. I'm start lo come up ken. Na desla me one pla big pla senis we me looking. Okay, kind of some lo coral bla me pla wog lo use small poison rope na me pla wog lo osem disturb him. Rip long em na sampla time mi plug about kurungutim rip na mi brook em start lo grow back ken. Through big ply tight and broke him down coral. So plant is senis mi come up na kind of some fish or some macau. I'm now planting all work lo come. Time blosan na salora dry boli come down lo rip all by come kai na all by come up place clear lo mi plug get up looking. So kind of some na big plus senis too mi come up em all some. Kind of some now salawara mi walk long burukim wesan lo nambis burukim ol rausim ol duai na salawara mi walk lo surugi kam na migat plan no molsem mipla by lukim desla mipla by start lo planim ol duai lo nambis so sem kalapulin na larap lo duai na lo holim wesan na strong im bag desla wesan na nambis ino kan bangarap emma stop olsem before emi bin stop long em.
So I'm really excited by the work that we're doing in Ronji and how it's building and growing. And I think one of the reasons is we have Chris, who is our conservation officer based in Ronji. And we've been able to build a field office there. So he has a base of operations. And then we have really been trying to get the marine monitoring to be a successful and sustainable way, of keeping on doing the conservation work. I think that we are getting better at making this a whole landscape from ridge to reef. I think it used to be a little bit more separated of the terrestrial and the marine. And I think the marine might have been a little bit more forgotten, but I think we're doing a much better job, and I think we're going to be putting even more effort into the work on the coast.
Are there other challenges you face regarding the nature?
Scaling Lumi, Senis La Solwara, Bipo, Solwara is a stab good. All there is something inside La Solwara, seagrass, na coral, is a stab good, na is a grow ECC. Now, me looking more sem Senis come up La Solwara, Solwara, Senis, I tight, na ibagarapim nambis, rausim all, keta duai, out lo nambis, na ground you walk lo loose ECC, na Solwara you walk lo come inside ECC. Man Mary be posting down close to lo nambis, only walk lo move you go inside. Na I walk lo barapim seagrass or seaweed. Now no at mo 1 plus seaweed is stop. Time seaweed till grow, high tide come up, I rausim all kata seaweed. So me looking all sem senis I walk lo come up now. Torricelli before I planty, now ino planty. Na look blomi me looking all sem Torricelli is have stop is have bienim kai. Also have pit lo seagrass or seaweed. Time this lane no at high tide I rausim. Torricelli now I move I paini mo na mabigat kai na only move out. So now me no looking Torricelli me planty.
The school in the village has 127 students. There are 68 male students and 59 female students in grades 3 to grade 8. The school is 6 years old but has the potential to grow with the help of authorities and others. At the moment, the school only has 3 teachers, the schoolmaster and 2 others. They are expecting a new arrival soon that will bring the teaching staff to 4. Mr. Peter Montengnu is a recipient of a tree kangaroo conservation program scholarship, and now he has returned to the village and is very ambitious for the school and its pupils.
But because of our school was not registered, we are attached to other schools in the remote areas up in the mountain. So we get the positions out there and teach here.
After the students have graduated from grade 8, they have to go further their education to Wasu, the district center. That is a long boat ride from Ronji, and the stay at the school has its challenges. What are the challenges facing the school in Ronji, and what about the future prospects?
We are only funded by the parents, not any other government department or any other NGO or something like that. But currently, when I was here for the first few years, TKCP helped us a lot. They give us everything, like office, their office. They also provide us the textbooks.
Yeah, so funding of protected areas and community-based conservation work has always been a challenge here in Papua New Guinea. I think it really has relied on international funding and short-term funding. So a lot of projects I've seen over the years where they get funding for a certain number of years and then the funding goes away and the programs fall apart. So one of the things that I made a commitment to in the work that we do with the Tree Kangaroo Conservation Program is to make sure that we have sustainable funding.
One of the projects the Tree Kangaroo Conservation Program has supported is the building of a footbridge over the river Urua. The bridge is a welcome improvement to the infrastructure of the villages, helping with movement of people and goods over a dangerous river. The local community in Ronji is working hard at building better future prospects at the moment. The conservation project has had a positive impact on the coastal ecosystem as well as the forest conservation zone and is showing positive signs for the environment. The local community as resource owners see the benefits the conservation project is having for the future generations. The fourth and last community we visit is Lumi, a government station at the foothills of the Torricelli mountain range in Sundown province. There is a small airstrip the MAF uses and we fly in. The station is very isolated, so the connection MAF has established is welcome. The station is built on either side of a road that cuts through the community. On top of a hill stands the Tenkile Conservation Alliance headquarters, or TCA, which is in the process of establishing the Torricelli mountain range as a legally protected area. Over 185,000 hectares of rainforest and biodiversity will be protected, including critically endangered species such as the Tenkile and Weimang tree kangaroos. Are the communities in the Torricelli Mountains and Lumi supportive of the Tenkile Conservation Alliance project?
Oh yes. The whole Lumi population is right behind the project. They've actually seen the actual infrastructure development. They've seen the actual impact that the project has on the community.
The Tenkile Conservation Alliance was first registered in 2001, and when the husband and wife Jim and Jean Thomas arrived in 2003, the project started in earnest.
We're both zookeepers and graduates of science degrees from Australia. We met at Melbourne Zoo, where we were both looking after tree kangaroos at the time in the section we were working at. And both have a passion for conservation and wanted to really make a difference. And we were doing that in the recovery programs we were working in Australia, but really didn't feel we were getting anywhere. And in 1996, I went on a field trip to far north Queensland with Roger Martin, who's a tree kangaroo expert. And he'd been to Papua New Guinea with Tim Flannery with the work on the Tenkile. And he told me quite frankly that these animals are going to become extinct because there's too many people, they're hunting them, and they're only found in a small area. And he said they'll be gone within the next 5 to 10 years. And I got really upset by that. And at that time I thought, well, I need to get a different conservation project under my belt. And this is what I want to do. I just all of a sudden just got fired up and I thought, no, I want to go to Papua New Guinea and I want to save this animal, the Tenkile.
Jim did actually just come home one day from work and said, how do you feel about living in Papua New Guinea? And of course I thought he was just joking and didn't take it too seriously, but then I realised how serious he was, and I had to actually start thinking about this, and we had to change our perspective around how it should happen. You know, we weren't going there to see the Tenkile and research it and study it in the end. It was all about shifting our perspective, and you know, they call it pivoting now in business, don't they? We had to pivot into community development and making the people actually the priority, not the animals.
I think understanding the village, Papua New Guinea way of living, we're always mindful that we don't remove something from the community without providing anything in return. I'll take the tree kangaroo conservation as an example. When Jim and Jean went in initially, they realized it was very difficult because it was part of their main staple is tree kangaroo.
So when we first got there was still a lot of confusion about what the organisation meant, and it really only just started and nothing had really happened till we got there. And we had looked at what other NGOs had done, what other conservation groups had done, and most of them had really concentrated on research, and that was it, and very little community development. And when we got there, we travelled to the villages, walked around to the villages, and we saw everyone was pretty sick. Everyone was basically lacking human rights such as access to clean water, food security. It was a huge issue. Sickness was massive. You know, kids with grilly, snotty noses, malaria, lots of dysentery, diarrhoea, very, very common. And we thought, well, if we've got any hope of saving these tree kangaroos, we have to help the people first, because it's their land, it's their animal, their natural resources. So what's the point in researching this to the hilt when these people aren't going to stop hunting the animals unless they're addressed?
The conservation area, the communities, they agree with what DCA is doing. When DCA started to create a conservation area and we do the GPS mapping around and we start to protect that particular area. The only thing the community just wondering is in exchange with the conservation, because they are not doing the hunting practices right now. So they need protein sources to be established in the community.
We've put over 375,000 litre water tanks into those 50 villages. So more than half of our stakeholders have access to clean water now. And that's been the game changer. That changed people from thinking this animal is a food source to this animal is very culturally important, it's our gold medal, and it's because we're saving it, we're getting community development, and we're getting employed, and we're learning about it. Now we've got greater respect for our natural resources, and we have the knowledge to stand up to corruption and logging and all the other dodgy things that happen in Papua New Guinea and say no to it. There's a little bit of hunting until we started getting things going, but once we walked to the villages and slept at people's houses and ate their betel nuts and their kumu and their saksak and smoked their bruce and listened to all their stories around the campfire, people start to realise, hey, you're not like all the other white fellas we've seen where they're coming in to get something and then go within a few weeks, which then gives all this suspicion, they took all these pictures, they got all this data for their research, and now they're gone.
The villages that have signed the hunting moratorium are now 50. All the villages taking part in the project have benefited from it, and the development of the communities is ongoing.
Tuma opinion dong project mi faul em kama kubla through la assistant dot team 1 and chin long kampra kubla la sabon this project lo ya mi lo to making kubla work. It means the work they've done is very grateful now em kubla na on man we're inside the community all amas to lo work lo kubla work.
Like in other rural areas of Papua New Guinea, there are challenges that face the people in terms of their sustainability and development.
Lokaden, plenty of lokaden, but kaya no se mol taro banana all strong black kaya. Lo side blumi lo weta blumi em na alaw. Lesem call Thomas. Kumu yes, best screen se baka modlo area. But you talk lo strong black kaya em no gatas. Ini sakarim ko. Nakat kud nagkuplala apesto. Mama ba kisel kumuta sal kam tento ya pantol. Tento ya bami bamune santi la tento ya.
Cash crop right now with cocoa, you know, our weather along the Torricelli range is a bit wet, so with cocoa it is not really making good impact at home. But vanilla right now the community have big interest in vanilla because the vanilla is growing well and all this, so they make good money out of vanilla, so they are working strongly with vanilla. Yep.
Community development like water, sanitation, TCA has come in there, where government has had no impact at all. And so that's where TCA was really getting a lot of support from the community because they actually see TCA delivering. That's the plus for TCA.
Jim and I do not have any power or authority over how people live in those forests. We really don't. And it's up to them to make those decisions.
School fees now more struggle for life. Sample only got ways to say sample family work all by helping. Sample no got. One play am call school, one play family am call school. Na ikatol pikini man, what's a salimbol ko se lo bewani, amanap, lo work lo oil palm. Struggle lo help work lo palm labi. Kisi mani o ke sali kam lo family usaid stalo place na palm school.
The team of homegrown and trained scientists at the Tenkile Conservation Alliance in Lumi conduct research projects that are based around distance sampling and camera trapping. Distance sampling is a widely used group of closely related methods of estimating the density and or abundance of populations. The main methods are based on line transects or point transects. In this method of sampling, the data collected are the distances of the objects being surveyed from these randomly placed lines or points, and the objective is to estimate the average density of the objects within a region. Camera trapping is a method used to capture wildlife photography when researchers are not present. This method is useful in assessing biodiversity.
I think we'll sink our teeth more into the research once every house has a light, it's got tin roofing, and everyone's got access to clean water. So we've got a lot more community development to do before I feel comfortable in investing heavily in research and finding out exactly what's happening.
The work continues at Lumi, and the local communities have started seeing the Tenkile and the Weimang tree kangaroos as an asset, not as an occasional food source. The Tenkile Conservation Alliance has worked with the villagers to establish alternative food sources. The trials that are ongoing involve poultry, rabbit and fish farming. The two tree kangaroo species have lived with the people of the Torricelli Mountains for millennia, and the hope is they will do so in the future. The myths about the tree kangaroos are ingrained into the culture.
Tenkile itself, it lives in a very narrow area because of our indigenous cultural beliefs and things like that. So it cannot move from any other new places. It belongs to that particular area only. In our customs and culture, there has been a story, a legend, a myth or tales or things like that, saying that Tenkile is the king of that particular area, king of any other animals. Between those two species, and then they put a stop boundary, saying that if you Weimang come back, you come across this boundary and you come to area, you will surely face some sort of consequences.
There is clearly strong consensus in all the 4 villages we have visited that the conservation projects are of benefit to the communities and furthermore give them hope that the work being done is having a positive impact on the nature. There are still unsolved issues that will in time be dealt with by the organizations financing the conservation areas. Papua New Guinea and its people are able, ready and willing to lend a hand to help the environment, and they are looking to a better future.
Watch the animal, the fish, the birds, the sky, the wind, which way it blows. When to plant and when to harvest, when to hunt or set sail for trade. The thunder where it claps, they tell the time and season. Everything falls in its time. Then came the preacher man, prophesying about the end of time, the impending doom, the wrath of God and man.